Well, it's really a new way of looking at building relationships and understanding students and where they're coming from. I would say that we're really just in the beginning stages of trauma-informed. Like I said, we have pockets of it throughout the district, but we haven't really done a full-fledged training on it and what that looks like. Of course, we have to make determinations. What trauma-informed looks like at an elementary school will look different than a middle school, and it'll definitely look different than a high school, just because of the age and maturity of everybody. And so we're going to have to do some professional development tailor-made for each level. Even the difference within an elementary school, trauma-informed for a kindergartner is going to look a lot different than a fifth grader. And so it's not really an easy process. It's something that we're going to have to work on. We're going to have to give them training. We're going to have to walk along beside them. We're going to have to understand that there's going to be some ups and downs. Sometimes we're going to be successful. Sometimes we're going to fail. It's probably not going to look the same in year 2 and year 3 as it did in year 1. I think it's probably going to be until year 4 or 5 until we get pretty good at it. But we're going to try to look at the metrics and track those. You know, we'll see how many office referrals that we have. We'll see however many referrals to mental health, either outside or even some of the resources that we have inside the district. We're going to see the severity of some of the acts that we have. How many suspensions do we have? Are we able to reduce those? Are we having, you know, a reduction in expulsion hearings? So there's all kinds of metrics that we're going to look at to see whether we're going to be successful or not.
How and where geographically do you think that schools in Kansas are becoming more trauma-informed?
It's really all over the place. There are some schools that learned about it a little bit sooner than others, but it is fairly common knowledge now, and some schools have already implemented programs. Others of them are just starting to implement programs. We're fully aware of it even here in Pittsburgh. You know, we are definitely the largest school district in southeast Kansas, and we have pockets of trauma-informed, but we haven't really put it into a system where it's pervasive and consistent across our whole, you know, all the grade levels and what we do. So that's one of the things that we're going to be working on with our strategic plan that we just passed. But there's pockets where it started. Derby Hills Elementary in Derby, Kansas. They were a trauma-informed school very early on. They've seen some tremendous progress. They track things like how many office referrals that they have per month, and they've seen it consistently drop to the point where the principal of that elementary school actually went to the superintendent and said, we don't need a school resource officer anymore because we've changed the behavior. And it's all about teachers trying to build relationships and understand where kids are coming from, and instead of kind of lighting the match and throwing it on the fire. They're not lighting the match anymore. The kindling's there. They could go up at any time, but they're not going to be the spark that makes it happen. If that, you know, and there's a lot of schools that are doing a good job. Everybody implements it a little bit differently. It just depends on what your population is. Like if you were in Emporia, which has a very high Hispanic population, you're probably going to handle it a little bit differently because the culture's a little bit different there. Whereas if it's where you're from, Chanute, there's not a real high minority population, so you're going to handle it even differently there. So everybody has to come up with their own system, but the basis of understanding is the same for everybody. There's not any real specific that talks about trauma-informed. We have at-risk dollars. The at-risk dollars go in, and we are supposed to use that on programs that are research-based, which the trauma-informed is research-based. So we can use some of that money to go into some of those programs. That's really the only way that we can target money to it. Otherwise, we're just spending general fund or supplemental general fund money on those